Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on The Janes, a documentary about women who created the Underground Railroad for abortions in Chicago before Roe v. Wade. Yeah, what timing? Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. Links are in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 8. Okay. There's not much for me to say in terms of screenwriting for this. I mean, screenwriting documentaries you do find a narrative, but it's very dangerous because in the process of finding of a narrative, you could be misleading people. And I am extremely suspicious of the timing of this documentary for obvious reasons. I mean, Roe v. Wade is being overturned, and then this is coming out in June on HBO Max. I mean, this just happened. The leak just happened like a few days ago. And now you've got this documentary coming out. Now, it could be true that they make documentaries like this all the time, and it just so happens they pick the one that's coming out at the right time to promote. I mean, because this was at Sundance in February, I think. I guess it won some awards. And they said they were up against the mafia and the government, and I assume space aliens. They're trying to make them very noble. And to some extent, I understand that there is some nobility in trying to help people, because some of those women, I'm sure, were put in impossible positions at that time. However, when they list off the people who needed abortions, one of the people they list is the mistresses of police officers in Chicago. Now, I think that's a little different. If you're a mistress, you shouldn't be a mistress. That's a bad thing. That's not like, oh yeah, you got to help those mistresses who are cheating. Like no. You know how you stop men from having mistresses? Just don't F them. Don't F them. And then they won't have them because nobody will F them. But it was a different time. I mean, we're talking 72, I think they're talking here. June 8th is when this comes out. Right, Little Joan? Get something in your fur. So it was a different time. And you're talking a time when the pill was very new. So not everybody had access to it. Not everybody even knew that it existed. You had condoms and I think a couple of other contraception devices that were semi-effective, but not always. But again, in that sort of realm, that's why you got to be super careful. Now, these days, there's a whole extra reason why you got to wear a condom or use contraception. It's called HIV, and you want to be super careful not to get that because you could die. So there's no excuse today, and it's not the same. So it's not the same, right? It's not the same at all. The technology for contraception is a lot better. Everybody knows what the pill is now. It's 50 years later. Everybody knows what the pill is. Everybody knows condoms, and there's all kinds of gadgets, the sponge and IUDs, and I believe there's like an injection you can get so you don't get periods anymore. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things. Technology is pretty high. So it's definitely a different time period. And I have no doubt there were women at that time who were in impossible positions. Maybe they got raped and, or they had a kid and they didn't want, they couldn't afford it and they were in a really tough position. The labor laws were different back then. Keep in mind, this is a Democratic-controlled city we're talking about, even back then in Chicago. So, I mean, the timing, I feel, is very suspicious. So I would be very wary of the allegories, I guess you would say it, the way they would tie this into the modern day. I would be extremely wary of that. So I wouldn't watch this. It feels like propaganda. All right, Joan, I'm going to put you back. Go ahead. Go sit. Here's your cushion. Yeah, so I'm not like, again, I'm not a guy who's against abortion. I think if you've behaved responsibly and you tried using contraception, it didn't work or whatever, or there's rape or incest, something like that, sure, have an abortion. But safe, legal, and rare was the bar we set, and I was fine with that. Most people were. Now they've taken that away, and now they wonder why Roe v. Wade is being overturned. It's a bad decision. Roe herself, that wasn't her name, eventually admitted she had lied about everything. It was, and this is part of the problem, it's a very emotional thing. Even now, to admit to your parents you had a bunch of sex and you got knocked up, especially if you're young. It's embarrassing. You messed up your life. And now you need an abortion or morning after pill, again, another technology. It's like, yeah, it's pretty stupid. It's even stupider now that you have condoms and whatever. So, it's different. Back then, it would have been, societal's pressures would have been more for you to have the baby, to get married, take care of the kid. And I get it, that would have, it didn't really destroy people's lives. It would change their life, certainly. Certainly you would have to pay for your mistake, but, this idea that abortion just needs to be available whenever you want it, no. I think there should be some education for people who are sexually active, have stuff that's available if you need it. And if you can't get it in certain states, maybe be extra careful or move to another state. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? And then to make this into a documentary now feels like propaganda. It feels like orchestrated propaganda. I don't know how these guys got wind that they were overturning Roe v. Wade. Maybe they just assumed, since Trump had so many appointees, they said, oh, we got to make a documentary like this in case they do something, and just good timing? Maybe. But I'm very suspicious. Anyhow, June 8th on HBO Max, an HBO original. Will I watch it? No, I'm not going to watch this. I don't trust it. It's not going to change my views, I don't think. Because I'd be so suspicious of it, I'd have to go through it and fact check it. And I don't want to have to do that. I just want to watch something from a reliable source that I could go, oh, okay, this is probably mostly true. They're trying hard. Maybe they are. I don't trust it, though. I mean, maybe you could watch it and tell me different. Anyhow, June 8th. And that's it for me, Tony D and Squirmy Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for a more base take. If you can imagine a more base take than that. And we'll see you tomorrow.